morning. So I've been thinking, do you think the country is ready for the kicking and screaming, petulant children of the radical left to take the reins of power? Because we're on the precipice of that happening. You know, generally speaking, there's always been a faction of what I call the petulant children, the people that don't want to operate with inside the norms and the traditions and the laws that we have, and quote unquote fundamentally change the country. And that's what this Democrat Party wants to do. And they've hoodwinked the moderate Democrats into getting on board with that, signing up for it. And they've done that by playing identity politics. They've convinced good middle class white people to feel bad because they're white. And they've played this identity politics for generations. And once they got the media to start pushing that issue for them, they won. They played on people's emotions, they played on people's vulnerabilities, and they played on people's hearts, who are generally good people and want good for everyone. And they think they need to undermine themselves for that to happen. And that's just not true. And if this election goes through with the way the media has called it, and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are going to be in the White House, I hope the American people are ready for their radical ideas. You know, they want to tear down the wall that Trump's worked so hard to get built. They want to, the abortion on demand, the late-term abortion, their foreign policy, which is a secret because they convinced the 3 debate moderators not to talk about foreign policy. How is that possible? That we can have 3, well, it turned out being 2 presidential debates, but foreign policy was not on the agenda for the debates. Unbelievable. They want to talk about racism and COVID-19 and whatever small issues they can come up with to make themselves look good and bash Trump. So I hope the center left and any center right Americans that decided that Orange Man was bad and they wanted Biden and Harris, I hope they're ready for that. We're going to turn into a radical country. They want to abolish the Constitution. They want to tear down our history. They've had a decades-long infiltration of academia, teaching our kids that American history is bad and it was founded on violence and bad ideas and racism and slavery. And look, nobody nowadays thinks slavery was a good idea. But the way of the world then called for it. And it was the Republican Party that identified it being inhumane and a problem and got rid of it. The Democrats wanted to keep it. So, the point of the story is, it's been a decades-long infiltration. They got to the kids, and once they get into college, they teach them all this radical stuff. Socialism's great. Capitalism is bad. Take from the middle class or upper middle class, give it to the poor. And the 1%, they don't give up anything. They just get richer and richer. Look what's happened during COVID. The Walmarts, the Amazons of the world, they're having record sales. And the mom and pop retail stores, restaurants, gyms, they're going out of business. It's because the American people didn't stand up for themselves. The COVID situation was supposed to be a couple weeks to make sure the hospitals weren't overrun. And common sense people said, oh, okay, that makes sense. We got blindsided by this. And once those couple weeks were up, that was our opportunity to say no more. But now, we've showed our hand. It was a poker game. We showed the tyrants our cards, and they know we're not going to stand up for ourselves. Not in mass, anyways. So I really think the only hope is, we have to expose this fraud in the election. Trump needs to be the next president. The Senate is up in, for a runoff in Georgia. There's an election down there. They're going to have a runoff. And the Democrats, they'll find any loophole to try and sway anything. They have a movement now where they're trying to convince Democrat voters to move to Georgia temporarily, rent an apartment, pay the deposit or whatever, get an address, go down there and vote, and then leave. It's unbelievable. If the Republicans did that, could you imagine the uproar in the media? But, at this point, who cares? They've called us every name in the book. So, the Democrats, they've done, the globalists, really, they've done an impressive job of overtaking a lot of the foundations of this country to get their radical ideas into the minds of vulnerable and susceptible people. And our only hope now is guys like Trump, guys that see it, that respect our history, respect the Constitution, respect individual liberty. And that's part of the Democrat agenda, is there's no freedoms, there's no individual responsibility. It's all the government. The government's going to fix everything for them. So where does that leave the people that do respect their individual sovereignty and do hold themselves accountable for their life and their action? Well, that leaves us footing the bill, right? For the petulant children. Now, a lot of times I think we may be in an echo chamber where we're just bouncing our conservative philosophies off each other, and we're not open to seeing the ideas of the left and all that. But they've gotten so radical that they're not going to convince people like us. They're not going to convince the constitutional conservatives that adore our republic, that respect and understand the history of this country. And we love it. We don't hate it. We wear it as a badge of honor. We're not going to give in to their radical ideas. So it's going to separate the country even further. And like I said, I hope the center right and the center left that decided Orange Man was bad and to get rid of him at any cost, I hope they're ready for all this. We'll see what comes out of this election here. We got a few wins yesterday. In Pennsylvania, they ruled that the state attorney, or the Secretary of State, and the governor up there operated outside of the laws and out of the state legislature. So we're going to be able to get rid of a bunch of ballots that were illegally cast. So hopefully we can continue getting wins like that, and this Dominion software gets exposed, and we can find some communication between the high-level Dems and that company. They'll blame it all on China, but who cares, as long as we can get those votes thrown out. So I think we're in a decent position. Obviously not as much as I thought it was going to be a Trump landslide. The amount of support I saw for Trump. But the media really did a good job of swaying a large swath of people that Trump was an evil dictator, even though he respects the Constitution, and he really respects the American people. And I can't believe that people are so easily swayed by the media. It's a big problem. We got to address it. So hopefully independent journalists and conservative voices can start pushing their weight around in the media. Get off of Fox, head over to Newsmax or One American News. Steve Bannon's War Room, you can find them on Rumble. They do a great show every day. They're pretty positive about Trump. So we'll see what happens. Y'all have a good day.